Armored Core 6. I absolutely adore it. At the time of writing, I'm just about to head into New Game Plus 2. It's my favourite new game since Elden Ring. My total addiction to the combat has me already trying to S-rank missions, which I never thought would be the case. And this game has some of my favourite FromSoftware moments ever. It's truly incredible. But if you'd told me this would be the case 3 days ago when the game was released, I wouldn't have believed you. Because here's how Armored Core 6 looked to me for the vast majority of its release day. Yeah. For the first few hours of Armored Core, and in particular the Balteus boss fight, I started to wonder whether Armored Core was actually a game for me. Chapter 1, as a new player to the series, was a little overwhelming, and I found myself getting so frustrated with the game's first real skill check. So I want to show you what I did wrong, and how my assumptions about this game made it even harder. And I'm also going to show you how to set up the build that I used for the majority of my first playthrough, which is all accessible in Chapter 1, to hopefully get you over that initial learning curve. Despite my horrendous struggles with Balteus on my first run, on this, my second run with a fresh character, I beat him first try, and then S-ranked the whole mission on the first attempt. So hopefully this video will help some people who are struggling to get to grips with Armored Core. But before we get to the build, I want to talk about the important bit. Why did I struggle so much with this game at the start? Well, and this won't come as a surprise to regular viewers of my channel, it's because I was being an idiot. No matter how many of the wonderful early impressions videos I watched for Armored Core telling me that it's not a Souls game, my brain was still treating it like one. Check out this Balteus footage from my first playthrough, and pay particular attention to the damage that I'm doing whenever I get the opportunity. Whenever he staggered, I was doing perhaps 20% of his health before he reactivated his shield and I had to break it down again. I changed a couple of things in my build during all these attempts, but this 20% seemed like the best I could do. And my Elden Ring and Dark Souls brain said that's about right. If you can do 20% of Margit's health bar from one attack opportunity on a fresh character, you're doing pretty well. This sort of damage meant that on each attempt on Balteus, I needed to do 3 full shield cycles to get him to phase 2. Doing all of this whilst taking my time and learning all of his attack patterns like a good Souls player should, meant that it was taking a good couple of minutes to get to phase 2. And the problem was that at the time, none of this registered as a problem. I thought to myself, well, this is it. This is Armored Core. I just need to get good. Looking back on this footage now though, no wonder I wasn't having fun. This is awful. My damage sucks, and I'm playing far too passively. Now check out this footage from the build that I'm about to show you, and you will see a massive difference. And it's not because I got good. This fight is still really scrappy, as you can see, although I am working on it, slowly. It's because I learned more about the game. In Armored Core, even against late game bosses, it's not uncommon for you to be able to do half or over half of their health bar from a single stagger, if you have the right build and setup. None of the fights in this game are designed to be 3 to 5 minute chess games like Darky and Madir or Melania. The hardest boss in the game, which is incredible by the way, was probably also one of the quickest fights I had in the run. When I'm giving advice on Elden Ring or Dark Souls, I tell new players to play passive, take it slow, learn the dodges for all of those super dangerous attacks, and don't be greedy. And while I think that's probably still true for utter mastery of Armored Core, if you've got the right build and setup, you can rush in and be so greedy that the boss is dead before they can even hit you with their special attacks. If you are playing super aggressively in Armored Core, and the boss health bar isn't disappearing very quickly, assume it's your setup to blame rather than your skill. Armored Core is not a Souls game. So don't let your expectation of a FromSoftware boss's difficulty mask what is actually just inadequacies in your build. So let's do Chapter 1. The first few missions of Armored Core are pretty chilled and perfect for getting used to the controls. Speaking of which, I still don't feel like I've found a home in terms of the controls in Armored Core. So far, I have been constantly switching between keyboard mouse and controller. Keyboard mouse, to me, feels like the superior option for missions where you are out in the open, switching quickly between multiple enemies, as that manual aiming gives you that extra accuracy. But I found myself switching to the controller for certain boss fights. Ultimately, I think I'll end up playing this game on keyboard and mouse eventually, but they both feel really good, so it's personal preference. If you're using controller, I'd advise turning your sensitivity up to max, as anything below that feels far too slow. I also swapped the bindings for boost and quick boost, so I have my dodge on circle like those other games. In the first few missions before you can upgrade your AC, you really need to keep an eye on your boost, as there's really not a lot of it. So picking your moments for flying and assault boost needs to be done a lot more carefully than in the rest of the game. At the end of the first mission, you'll encounter the first boss, and there's a super simple strat for this guy. When he's in front of you, assault boost towards him and hit him with melee attacks. Then spam your ranged weapons from the ground under him. Repeat the process for a very easy fight. After this mission, you'll get some new parts for your mech, so switch over to them for some added tankiness. The second mission requires you to destroy the artillery installations and is very simple. Before you destroy all of the big guns, try to take out as many enemies as you can to get yourself used to the combat and for some extra cash. Mission 3, the Grid 135 cleanup, is also very simple. It's just fighting a bunch of standard enemies. It does teach you to manage your stamina a little bit though. I died to gravity on this mission in the first playthrough, due to being too greedy with flying and assault boosting everywhere. The fourth mission is a little more hectic, but also gives us an opportunity to get some extra cash. Destroy the first couple of transport helicopters before heading over to the final set. Now the mission ends when the helicopters are gone, but if you want the extra cash, you can hold off from the main objective and fight the tetrabod enemy here. He's not that difficult and he gives us an extra 24k, which is a lot at this stage in the game. Keep on the pressure with your ranged weapons and pulse blade whenever it's recharged. Our next mission is our first one-on-one encounter with another AC. It can take a little time to adjust to the speed of these encounters, but keep the pressure on with your ranged attacks and go in with the pulse blade once again when you can, and you'll be fine. At this point, we're going to do the first 2 training missions to get ourselves another gun. We're also going to head into the parts shop to grab a new booster, generator and FCS module. Then buy these arms for the firearm specialization, double up on the missile launchers and equip our new rifle to head out on the next mission with this loadout. The next mission is the most hectic one so far, but we're accompanied by 2 allies. so it shouldn't cause you much trouble. Now for the first one that should give you a decent challenge, the Strider. The first part is simple in theory, but it's easy to end up dead if you aren't careful. Make your way towards the Strider, eliminating the other enemies on the way, and dodging the Strider's laser beam attacks. Once you've destroyed the leg, you can hop on and start destroying generators. Now again, be careful of your boost gauge. It's really easy to end up falling off the Strider here if you aren't tactical about where you use it. After destroying all the generators, you're free to attack the eye in relative safety before making your escape afterwards. And finally, we can set up our early game build. Head to the parts shop and grab 2 laser cannons for your shoulders and 2 shotguns for your arms. In assembly, swap to the original headpiece to avoid an EN shortfall. And we have our build. Just in time for the first big challenge in Armored Core 6, Operation Wall Climber. Make your way through the first part of the mission, destroying the artillery guns and the tetrapod by the wall. Then head indoors for some regular enemies and restock your supplies for the boss. The Juggernaut might seem intimidating at first, but he's essentially just a puzzle boss. Any attacks from the front are futile, but hover over him and attack the back and our posture breaking setup will stagger him almost immediately. From there, unload all of your ranged weapons at him and then repeat the process. At half health, Rusty will be called away, making it a little harder to attack him, but stick to exactly the same strategy and he'll be down in no time. After this, we have a super short item grabbing mission that allows us to unlock the arena. So now we're going to head into the arena to bully the first 3 ACs. My one claim to any sort of competence in Armored Core is that despite doing all of the arena fights on my main character, I'm still yet to die to any AC in the arena. There are 3 possible reasons for this. 1, I'm just an Armored Core PvP god. 2, all of the arena fights are incredibly easy. And 3, this build is bloody amazing for 1v1s. Given that the second option seems unlikely, and it's certainly not the first, it's worth having this loadout saved if you want an easy time with all the arena fights. Use the arena tokens to unlock the boost kick and give ourselves some extra shotgun damage. The penultimate mission of Chapter 1 is an incredibly cool one, and I'm not going to spoil it for anyone who's yet to play it. You shouldn't struggle too much with this build though. And now it's finally time to attack the watch point. I'm going to swap the footage here for my second replay attempt of this, so I can show you how to S-rank this mission. S-ranking missions is based on many different factors specific to each mission. And something that seems to be a requirement on this one is not resupplying before Balteus. The other night I managed to get through this whole mission without healing, and it was still A-ranked, I suspect due to resupplying. Because of this, we want to save all of our heals for the AC fight and the boss. So creep up on the artillery guns in this first area to avoid getting sniped. As long as you make the big guns your priority in both of the first 2 areas, you should be able to avoid taking on too much damage. For the AC fight, just stay close. This is actually one of the tougher AC fights for this build. as his pulse weapon excels at close range. However, our stagger damage, combined with our DPS, means that if we stay close range and stagger him, he won't be able to hit us for long. And now for Balteus. At the start of the fight, assault boost towards him. Using assault boost is a great way of dodging the barrage of missiles, and it just looks incredibly cool. Unload your shotguns at him as fast as you can, and the only thing to be wary of is that our laser cannons will stop us in place when we fire them. You can solve this pretty easily by switching to quad or tank legs, but if you enjoy being as mobile as possible like me, just be careful where you fire them. The safest place being on top of him or behind him, so you don't get caught by those shotgun blasts. For the fire sweeping attacks in Phase 2, I find boosting or assault boosting up and over him to be the most reliable way of keeping safe, but it does depend on positioning. And that's it. How to get started in Armored Core 6 and S-rank the first real skill check in the game. Once again, I absolutely adore this game. And hopefully this video might save a few of you from falling into the same trap that I did. As always, thanks for watching. See you soon.